Hello everyone and welcome to What's New in My Garage. This is a car that I've always dreamed of having. It is a new 2026 Porsche 911 Carrera T. I ordered this car from the factory last July, the factory in Zuffenhausen, Germany. And there were delays, but now that it is here, I can tell you that it was well worth the wait. It's a pretty car. The color is light gray, and it also has an exterior optional package that is a dark blue accent package. The front wheels, the front 20-inch wheels and the rear 21-inch wheels are painted in high gloss dark blue. The side stripes are also dark blue, as is the hood stripe. And moving on back to the rear of the car, the vertical slats on top of the engine cover are also dark blue, as well as the name tag on the top of the back bumper. The dark blue theme is carried over to the interior of the car as well. The design philosophy of this car is reminiscent of the early 911s, going back to the 60s, where the goal was lightweight and agility. They used a lightweight, horizontally opposed 6-cylinder engine mounted atop or above the rear drive wheels and connected to the drive wheels with a manual transmission. This car continues that philosophy. It is a lightweight car. There is no back seat. The glass is thinner, and some of the sound deadening or the insulating material has been removed. So when you compare the curb weight of this car with the yellow Boss 302 Mustang, which is a track focus car next to it, or sitting next to it, the curb weights are different by about 400 to 500 pounds, the Porsche being lighter. And that makes a big difference as far as agility and acceleration is concerned, even though the engine has 2 fewer cylinders. Even though there are no optional engine upgrades or an optional transmission, you get the lightweight boxer engine and the lightweight manual transmission only. This car has an impressive list of standard features, and I'd like to enumerate them briefly. The first is the Porsche Active Suspension Management System, which is a system that electronically controls the dampers in the car. The damper control is accomplished by inducing an electric current into the damper fluid. The fluid is conductive, and it reacts to the electric current by becoming increasingly more or less viscous. As the electric current into the damper fluid is increased, the viscosity increases, and that in turn increases the stiffness of the damper. Additionally, since the car is not static, but it's moving, the system electronically recalibrates the damper stiffness required, and it does that every 10 milliseconds. A millisecond is 1,000th of a second, so that means that the damper system is recalibrating each damper individually 100 times a second. The next standard system that I'd like to talk about just briefly is the Sport Chrono package. The Sport Chrono package is a suspension and drivetrain performance package that enhances the agility and the performance of the vehicle. I'll talk a little bit more about the Sport Chrono package when we get inside, because that's where all the controls are. Additionally, every 911 Carrera T comes standard with rear wheel steering. This panel on the back Just aft and below the rear engine cover is a spoiler. The spoiler extends and retracts automatically based on speed. And finally, every Carrera T comes standard with the Porsche Sport exhaust system. All these systems work separately and together to yield the driving agility and handling for which the brand has become famous. Let's look a little bit at the inside. I'll show you the passenger side first. Before we go in, one thing Porsche wants everybody to know who sees this car is that it has a manual transmission. Not only that, but when you open the door projects an image of the shift pattern for the manual transmission that this car has. If you look inside the car, you can see that the interior was not prepped for delivery. That was at my request. I told the dealer that when the car was delivered to me, I wanted to experience the interior just the way it left the factory floor. One thing that surprises me is the covering over the seats that they use. It has a fabric outer cover instead of plastic, which is what I've become used to on every other car that I've bought. The Carrera T comes with two optional packages, blue packages, the exterior gentian blue package and the interior gentian blue package. This car has both of those packages. You can see the side bolsters of the seat are leather, whereas the seating surfaces themselves are cloth. The panel for the passenger door has been, or the cover for the passenger door has been removed. And you can see that the entire panel, except for this part right here, which replicates the seating surface of the seat. Everything else is leather, including the place where you rest your elbows. Let's go around to the driver's side because that's where all the action is. Get in carefully. This car sits lower to the ground than the Mustang, and I thought the Mustang was difficult to get in and out of. I'll go ahead and close the door. And once I'm inside, since the key fob is in my pocket, the ignition comes on automatically. I'll turn the lights off since we're in the garage. The first thing that you notice about the interior is the center dash-mounted chronograph. A chronograph is a clock or a watch that also has a stopwatch function, and this is the hallmark of the Sport Chrono package. The Sport Chrono package has a steering wheel mounted mode selector, which when the ignition is on, it defaults automatically to normal or comfort mode. As you turn it, I think it shows up in the display or somewhere. There it is. It shows up here on the instrument cluster which mode you're in. It defaults to normal. You can select wet or the two sport modes, Sport or Sport Plus. In Sport and Sport Plus modes, the throttle mapping is revised and the suspension is stiffened The Sport Chrono package also includes automatic rev matching when a downshift occurs, when the driver downshifts. It's selectable, you can turn it on or off. Here is a look at the digital display. This car has a conventional 12-volt negative ground system, and the display farthest to the left shows you the voltmeter, or the status of the electrical system. This is not a hybrid, there is no high voltage panels, there are no electric drive motors. This is pure 911, old-fashioned 911. The next display to the left or to the right of the voltmeter shows an analog speedometer, and also it shows a display of the speed limit for where you are. And the big display right in the middle is a digital tachometer and a digital speedometer with a fuel gauge underneath. Moving to the right of that is the oil pressure and oil temperature gauge, and finally the rightmost gauge is the coolant temperature gauge. This is called the classical display, which is probably the one I will use most often. There is one other one, if I can find it here. Here's one that I will use occasionally. It shows not only the tire pressures when the vehicle is moving, but just as importantly, it shows the tire temperatures. This vehicle comes standard with summer-only sport tires, or performance tires, and it's important to know the temperature of the tires when you're driving. If it's a cooler day outside or a cool morning, then you'll want to know that the tires are at least 40 to 45 degrees before you drive off. The shifter is open pore walnut. Feels good in your hands. In the owner's manual, it says if you've been eating hard, sticky candy, then maybe it's good to wash your hands before you get in the car. Which is good advice. That's pretty much the overview of the car. What I'm going to do now is pause the camera, and I'll remove the battery tender, which is still connected. I'll put the battery cover back on, close the hood, then we'll come back and start up the car. See you then.